Welcome back to the KDPG Sunday Edition. This morning we're talking about progress that's finally being made to help the people of Puerto Rico who suffered loss of life and property devastation from Hurricane Maria 9 months ago. We're also looking at the remarkable strong connection between the people of Pittsburgh and Puerto Rico. Back with us is Luke Hinkson of Pittsburgh's Brothers Brother Foundation, and we're joined now by Fred Ramos, Senior Vice President of Corporate Communications at Highmark Health. He was critically important in the early days of hurricane relief, especially in helping Brothers Brother with medical contacts in Puerto Rico through Highmark. Mr. Ramos, thank you for being here.
Have me.
So you were born in Puerto Rico. Was Roberto Clemente one of the first, knowing that he was a Puerto Rican playing for the Pirates, that I'm sure colored your childhood?
Absolutely. I was one of the many kids here in this country that wanted to be a Major League Baseball player when I grew up. So Roberto Clemente was an icon, and I idolized him. I still have his picture in my office as we speak. Went to the Hall of Fame. His salon opened up, so it was like a chilling moment. So there was a real strong connection in this entire effort to the spirit of Roberto Clemente.
So is that, I mean, are we romanticizing the extent to which the Clemente connection is the reason that Pittsburgh has this tie with Puerto Rico, or is that really a substantial part of it?
It was a door. And the spirit of his life, which was a giving life, not just playing baseball, he gave to the community. That was that in the 70s, if you were in Pittsburgh, you knew that. He was an inspiration for so many to come together from the Pittsburgh area, whether it be the connection with the distributing organizations we work with in Puerto Rico. They knew Roberto Clemente. And the Pirates were connected with, because of their history and the current players that they have. And we were able to strengthen our appeal because his son came to Pittsburgh and said, help Brothers Brother. It gave us extra energy to do all these shipments that we have done. And because of that connection, we were able to work with so many in Puerto Rico who understood where we were. And they did all this work, all this distribution of these materials free. It was their gift to their own people. It was a way that they could help when the power was off and the economy was crushed.
So having a connection at Highmark Health, how valuable was that in knowing what was needed and how, you know, being able to prioritize here's what we need to get down there first? It
was instrumental. The first list that we received from Puerto Rico, what they needed, came from one of the doctors at Allegheny General Hospital. She walked in the door, didn't knock, just walked in and said, I have a list. Can I help you? And we were able to work with her. Her name is Yazdet Maldonado. And she got other Puerto Rican doctors trained there, from there, here, to sort and organize our first shipments. They would be on the phone talking to people from 15, 20 hospitals. What do you need on the pirate plane that leaves in 2 days? What do you need in your hands in 2 days? And they would go into our warehouse and touch those things, and we put them in boxes and send them on the plane.
Well, the contributions of Highmark and the Pirates and Brothers Brother are well known and celebrated throughout Puerto Rico, and source of pride here in Pittsburgh. Not so much the U.S. government, right? How was that response?
Well, you know, it's interesting because I had a chance to meet with Carmen Yulín Cruz, the mayor of San Juan, a couple of weeks ago. And, you know, clearly...
another Pittsburgh connection, if I might add.
Yeah.
She went to CMU.
She had her master's at CMU, right? So she's been on a crusade since day one to get help to citizens of Puerto Rico. So puts it is, you know, so the federal government probably was late to the bell, but the citizens of this country have just responded in epic proportions to this crisis, regardless of how the federal government responded or didn't respond. And for me, you know, having had the opportunity to be part of this has just been, you know, just gratifying. So before anything else, just want to make sure I thank all the Pittsburghers here in town, all the organizations that were part of our Coalition of the Willing. The Clemente spirit for me was core to this thing. You know, here's somebody who gave his life in the same kind of a situation, taking supplies with your father. That's waiting right at the other end in Managua, Nicaragua. And I remember on September the 6th, it was Roberto Clemente night here in Pittsburgh back last year. Several of us were there. Luis Clemente was with us, and that night there was this storm that was coming to the city, and yet the moon was so bright that evening that it literally lit up the number 21 on the field. And it gave me chills. We were there sitting and we said, you know what, guys, I got a feeling the spirit of Roberto Clemente here is with us. He says, what do you mean? I don't know, it just feels like he's here. That night was Hurricane Irma. 2 weeks later, Hurricane Maria.
Right.
And I think he's been with us ever since, essentially channeling us to help in this regard, just like he helped, you know, that fateful night that he lost his place.
People who are born and live in Puerto Rico are, of course, American citizens, but sometimes people in continental United States forget that Puerto Rico is part of the United States.
Yes.
Did this effort help seal that connection and end that notion that sometimes is so irritating?
I think it did, and it probably gave people a greater understanding of what the relationship is between Puerto Rico and the mainland. You know, everyone there is an American citizen.
That's right.
The disadvantage is that they don't have the right to vote, right? So American citizens, but if you live in Puerto Rico, you can't vote for president, you can't vote for your representation and so forth, but you pay taxes and whatnot. But there are families that are interconnected literally for years and years and years,
yes.
generations, that, you know, go there, come here, whatever. And I think what ended up happening is it further solidified the fact that if you forget everything else, these are human beings, fellow Americans, fellow U.S. citizens.
Right.
And when the time gets tough and a crisis happens, people just step up to help, say, how can I help? And we've seen that over and over again for the last 10 months.
Now, speaking of intergenerations, tell us a little bit, Luke, you're the second generation in this kind of work, right?
Well, my father founded Brothers Brother in 1958 in Cleveland and came to work at McGee Hospital in 1968. It was an all-volunteer organization. He brought the records of Brothers Brother in shoeboxes. It was that small. Right. So we've been connected to Pittsburgh for 50 years.
And your son is involved as well, if I recall.
Yes. Both of them as volunteers. They've done it as volunteers as young men, but now
So
they've
three
got,
generations of giving
exactly.
and caring.
It's been incredible. And I remember, again, we had just done the press conference. I got a call from Frank Coonley. Says, Fred, we're doing this. The players really want to do something in the name of Roberto Clemente. How can Highmark help? And I said, well, you know what, Frank, as a matter of fact, we're working with Luke and his team, the chamber, Luis Clemente, Roberto Clemente Jr. Maybe there's an opportunity for us to work together and have 1 + 1 = 21. Well, I'm still waiting for FedEx to commit a couple of cargo planes. And I said, I'll tell you what, Frank, you get those cargo planes, we're going to help you fill those planes with supplies. And sure enough, within 2 or 3 days, FedEx committed. We had supplies.
How did you decide what was going in those planes?
So a lot of it was based on what the need was. Humanitarian supplies, water, big time need for water, emergency. We already, through Brothers Brother, already had, you know, they've been doing this for many, many years. They already had kind of an MO for what was required in the immediate sense. But we were getting those direct requests for support from the doctors in Puerto Rico. And then, as you saw, Pittsburghers just inundated PNC Park with all kinds of supplies, water, food, whatever. So it was a combination of what Pittsburghers contributed, what we already had in storage, and then some of these prescription medicines that were asked for specifically by the Centro Medico and other health.
But you were able to fill prescriptions? Or
oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And having your medical contacts, that was key to getting these specific needs that people might not think of, organizations might not even think of, but having medical contacts on the ground, that was invaluable.
It was critical, and in fact, it's interesting. We talked about my colleague, Estette Maldonado, so she's an anesthesiologist here at Allegheny General. She studied with the same anesthesiologist at Centro Medico, the biggest hospital in San Juan. They were on the phone the day we were having the press conference. When she walked into that press conference unannounced to say, how can I help? I hugged her. I said, okay, so what do you go? Well, I just talked to my colleague in the San Juan Medical Center. Here's what they need. Can we fill it? Literally within 24 hours, we had that filled, and it was on one of those cargo planes that the pirates sent down.
So now, business people in Puerto Rico saying, you know, thank you for all of the supplies that you sent, but now what we really like is for you to come here. They don't want Americans to shun the island because they think maybe it's not ready for us. They want tourists to come.
Sure.
They want visitors to come and spend their money, and not just in San Juan.
Yeah, and I think even beyond that, because I had a chance to go down back in February, and the tourism is just returning, and I think the tourism will come, right? It's one of the hallmarks of the country's economic viability. But I think more than that, I think there's just this ongoing sense of, you know, we're part of the country, we have need. Now how can we actually really kind of enhance the electrical grid that's there? When I spoke to Carmen a few weeks ago, she said that the number one issue that they really have as a greatest need right now is the electrical grid and solar power of all kinds. And I think we're making some effort to try to make some of that happen. So it's just remembering that fellow citizens in need, and how do we kind of help support the infrastructure for the long term versus just some of the short term fixes.
So because the grid has been patchworked in places, the idea that we're entering hurricane season again is got to be a frightening thought for your family.
Well, how vulnerable is it now? Is it more vulnerable than it had been even before?
Well, I think it's probably better because if nothing else, there's new cables, there's new poles and so forth, but it's still very fragile. I know when I was there in February, there was a power outage when we were there at the hotel. I mean, literally 24 hours after landing, there was a power outage. So I think this is going to be, I know there's a lot of lessons learned about both the preparedness of the island, the local government, all the first responders, FEMA, the U.S. government. So I think if another hurricane hits, I think they'll be more prepared, and I think we'll be better able to respond. But I think ultimately, long term, the infrastructure has to be fortified.
No question. Very quickly before we go, Luke, how can people help Brothers Brother?
If they care to, we continue to accept contributions for hurricane victims, whether it be Puerto Rico or Texas or Florida. We had 3 hurricanes last year. But contributions can be sent to Brothers Brother Foundation. Their website is brothersbrother.org. And we welcome this, and we hope that there's not a hurricane in Puerto Rico. But there may be another disaster, and we welcome help if it comes.
Excellent. Thank you both. Take a break. Back with some final thoughts in just a moment.